Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, really good, thanks.
Okay, so thank you for agreeing to do this with me today. Everyone, this is Jennifer, my lovely client. She has just graduated from the Affair Breakthrough Program. It's been a week now, and I thought that it'd be interesting to interview her about her experience in order to just for myself, for feedback purposes and for improving the program, but also for those who are curious and want a sneak peek on the inside. So are you okay to get started, Jennifer?
Let's do it.
All right. So what was it like working with me? Disclaimer, I have not told her how to answer anything. So anything that comes out of her mouth is her honest opinion, and hopefully, I'm sure that she feels fine just being completely honest. So
yeah, 100%. And maybe my answers won't be 100% polished because it is just very on the spot and speaking from the heart. So it has been quite honestly a really transformative 3 months, and I think from at the very beginning I was very keen to engage, but a little bit hesitant and protective of my heart. And I think as very, very soon after starting, I had become really really comfortable in our sessions, and really willing to open regardless that with us in any particular session. So it's been a really positive experience for me.
That's good to hear. So I know that you found me on YouTube and you had watched a lot of my videos before we actually interacted one-on-one. I'm assuming you had certain expectations of what it would be like to go through the program or to work with me one-on-one. Was it what you expected? Was the process what you expected?
It's an interesting question. I think, yes, it was what I expected from the perspective of, showering my life with positivity in terms of in terms of how I wanted to move forward. I was broken at the lowest point in my life, and I was really struggling to find I was struggling to extend those moments where I did feel hopeful, or where I did feel positive, or where I did kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. They were just glimpses or moments, and I really saw in the videos that I watched, the clips that I watched on YouTube, I saw I guess some techniques and some concepts and some ideas that were overwhelmingly positive in terms of being able to take those little moments I was experiencing and and expand those into my life going forward. So that was the direction I wanted to head. I needed to stop wallowing and looking back over my shoulder, I think. And I recognized that was something that you would be able to help me with. And from that perspective, the program was definitely everything that I hoped it would be.
Oh, good. So I know you touched a little bit about this, about having little pockets of, I guess, hopefulness. But can you describe a bit about your emotional state before we worked together and when you decided to take the plunge?
My emotional state. So at that point in time, and it really wasn't that long ago. That's the crazy thing, it can be with some focus and the right tools and guidance, you can move from a place of hopelessness to feeling much more in control. And so I think it's fair to say that my mental state, I definitely did feel very, I didn't feel hopeless, because I think I had it within me to know that I was strong and that I could come out the other end. But I just didn't know how to pick myself up at that point in time. And so I just felt overwhelmingly sad all of the time. I was really haunted by flashbacks, and not even flashbacks, but, you know, pictures I was creating in my own mind, and, you know, triggers left, right, and center, and, you know, really intrusive thoughts. And I didn't know how to process them or deal with them. And I guess I didn't really have the tools to kind of manage that myself. I couldn't find my way out myself because of how overwhelmingly sad I was feeling. And the fact that, you know, the spare time that I felt like I had, I was putting into my family and my work to try to keep the wheels turning. So I just didn't have much left for myself. And in that time that I did have left for myself, I was, you know, feeling pity for myself and wallowing. And you know, so I think that's the point. That's where I started.
Yeah, and I know that when we spoke for the first time, that was really one of your concerns, because obviously you're a successful woman and you work and you have your kids and your marriage and your career. Where will I find the time to do this? And one of my thing was like, you're gonna get time back because you're gonna deal with whatever it is you're going, and then you're gonna get back to your day. You know, it's not gonna be all consuming like it is now.
That's true. That's really true. And it's hard to see that. And I think sometimes it's about, without even realizing it's you know, you make excuses for why, because I think for me there was a definite part of me, and I think, you know, you picked up on this through the process, Gianni, and pulled me back from it each time. Like, was, you know, was there a part of me that wanted to punish myself or feel sad, or, you know, who wanted to stay stuck, you know? And whilst I don't think that was the case, you know, there's definitely a big part of us that wants to allow ourselves to feel sad, you know, about what has happened, what we perceive as, you know, something that has happened to us. And so, yeah, I needed to be able to equip myself to pull myself out of those pockets of, you know, pity that I kind of fell into, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one of my favorite things, and I haven't mentioned this to you before, but one of my favorite things about working with you was when the first few sessions we were talking, I kind of had to redirect you away from talking about your husband the whole time. Like, nope, this is your time. We're here to deal with you. And towards the end, that was like not an issue anymore. It was like you were focused on your journey and your healing. And it was like, oh, I have to talk to Jennifer about this, because I don't know if she noticed that she was so much more inward and so much more focused on herself. That being said, I'd like to know a little bit about how our work together impacted your marriage and the progress that you weren't making at the time.
I think the first observation that I would make was around how I was able to center myself and bring under control the anger and the loud. I think you know, falling into a position of making myself the victim and lashing out from that perspective. And, you know, I was very much in that space, and I was finding it very hard to control that. And, you know, that was all about, you know, I guess that concept of victimhood, and, you know, oh, woe is me and poor me, and, you know, and I think what you helped me recognize and do was, you know, pull myself out of that frame of thinking. And I would always kind of, initially, I would fall back to, but he, you know, he did this, and I didn't deserve that. And, you know, and I think what we were able to do was move away from that and focus really on you know, me being kind of the center of my own focus. And, you know, and I guess hand in hand with that was a recognition of the role that I played in not the decisions that he made, but in the I guess the role that I played in our marriage, and the role that that I was responsible for in moving forward. So so I think anger and just crankiness about the situation I was in, that was definitely a big part of what I was grappling with initially. And I can of course, like I sometimes still feel really angry about certain parts of my situation, but I now allow myself to feel that. I don't internalize it necessarily. We worked through the concept of neutralizing, like recognizing and sitting with and neutralizing the triggers, I suppose, and that that really helps hugely. Like that's been transformative, I think, because it's not about pushing things out of my mind or not dealing with it, but it's also not about letting it take over your day. There's a really nice balance there of and that has helped to control my mood and how how I am with my family and with my husband.
Is that what you would consider your takeaway? What is your takeaway from the program now that the 12 weeks are over, and moving forward?
It's a big question, because it's really hard to wrap it all up into a really nice summarized kind of take on what this program has given back to me. But I think I'm grateful for, as I've explained, all of the tools and the discussions and the the techniques and things that that I've been able to learn from you, and we've been able to work through together, and that will all serve me really well going forward. But I think one of the really important parts of the process for me has also been, interestingly, the latter parts of the program, because I was really able to move past, start to move past the the phase of grappling with where I was, and really 100% focus on me and what I want. And I had a mind-shattering realization at the back end of our time together, which was around how I had literally just allowed my relationship to be without without making plans and having without having goals, or without having a defined thought, without there being a defined thought process around what I wanted for my relationship. I'd kind of just, we'd dated and been together for a long time and married, and like I just now expected it to just continue and be 100% fine without actually investing more time. And so that was a really big realization for me, when I couldn't actually name a goal that I had ever set for my relationship. Everything, really, all of my goals, because I'm a very goal-oriented person, goal-focused person, they'd all been, personal type goals rather than relationship goals. And so what the latter part of the process helped me to do is really, really refocus on that, but do it from my perspective, making sure that I was central to that, and that it was what I wanted, and, what I saw for my future. So that's something really valuable that I'll take away.
That's so beautiful. And for me, that's very important. It's this whole notion about just being intentional about where your life is going and what it is, and owning your power. I mean, I always get esoteric with things about owning your power as the creator of your life and declaring what you want over it and having faith over what's to come, as opposed to like not letting the past define what the future is going to be. And so you definitely took on anything I gave you. And if you were hesitant, you let me know. And so I appreciate that for you, because you were just open to the process. You were just like, I need to do this. How do I talk to you? How do I sign up? And that's the kind of woman I like to work with, the one who's not ready to give up, because that's who I was. Even when I was going through my journey, I was like, I'm going to overcome this and I'm going to help women someday, because I'm not going to let him or any other man or any other thing tear me down. Like, no, who do you think you are? It's me, and I'm victorious, and I'm a goddess, and no, like F you, you know? So do you believe that your financial investment was worth it?
Yeah, I haven't given it a second of thought since, handing over the credit card. Like, of course, any investment, in ourselves is, I think as, as me, certainly as a mother, and as, I guess within the family unit, I always hesitate about spending money on myself, which is really silly, because, I'm worth it, and we are worth it. And so I think that whilst, it was a consideration initially, the second I just decided, no, this is what I want to do and I need to invest in myself, I just, having given it another thought, it was 100% worth the investment.
Yeah, a lot of times, whenever I spew out a number, women are like, and I'm like, well, has it been more valuable to you in the bank, or have you been getting anything from it? No, you're still in your situation. So yeah, maybe you can keep your money, but wouldn't you rather move forward and think about obviously what you're saving? I mean, divorce for one, right? The headache and the therapy you're paying for that's probably not working. Like it's an overall investment in your life, in your future. It's not just, the silly person you found on the internet who claims to be able to help you. This is for you. And
I think that's true. And you can spend, you could spend so much time trawling YouTube and the internet for, all of the tools to put together half of what like you and I have been able to do in 3 months. And so you might save yourself, a bunch of money, but, you're not, it will never be the really lovely rounded program I think that this has been, because, as I said, the front part of the program was the hard yards. That was the hard stuff, because that was, the emotion inducing, tears, like, as you're kind of grappling with, these really raw emotions. But as you progress, it becomes very clear that, it is such a well thought through process, because it takes you through the stages that you really need to go to pop out the other end and, be that confident person who you've always been, who you could get back to, but who, who is then equipped, really equipped to really look within and focus on herself, to be able to, be strong and choose to stay in her marriage, and but to never ever lose sight of herself in that situation. And there's just no way, because you go down that rabbit hole of the internet, and it kind of takes you all over the place. But to cover off on what we've covered off in the period of time we have, I just don't see how I would have ever been equipped to do that myself. Just not possible.
That's a good perspective. Do you mind sharing with us when your discovery day was, just to add some perspective?
Yeah. My initial discovery day was the 9th of April this year, 9th of April 2020.
So we're April, that was April, and we're in October. You signed up with me in July.
Yeah, so I signed up just after the second discovery at the beginning of July. So that was 4th of July. And so I think it was very soon after that, because I think between April and July, I'd been trying to keep my head above water. And then I just took a massive dive again at the beginning of July. And that's when I found and watched a lot of your videos and felt that positivity kind of jumping through at me. And I was in an online kind of support, like a Facebook support group, and every time you had commented or posted, that was the kind of the positive messaging, I think, that was really talking to me, that I was really gravitating towards. And so that's how I found you and when we started the journey.
You mentioned something in our last session about how it can happen so quickly and we have all these myths about time. Can you expand on that? Because I thought you spoke about it so beautifully that I couldn't put it into words myself, if you don't mind.
I think my concept is, you hear the old adage that time heals. And I think that is true, but only when you use that time to actively heal. It's what you do with the time that is important, not just the time. So if you sit back and you continue to be angry and wallow and think of yourself as the victim and allow the triggers to completely take over your days and weeks, then time is actually not going to be your friend, because you'll just find that you're 6 or 12 months down the track and you're feeling just as cranky as you were at the beginning. And, whereas if you use your time in a really positive, healing, self-focused way, then, you can be 3 or 6 months down the track and feel much more positive about your situation. And I think, it's important to just say, I think it's obvious, but, your course or anything else that somebody does, it's not a silver bullet, because, most certainly I still have my, my moments. And that's the unfortunate reality of infidelity. But I have a completely different outlook, and I'm not confident to say that I would be in this position without having done this. I think that I would, possibly have found kind of some internal strength to maybe get part of the way there, but I'm confident that I'd still be struggling. So even though that time will have passed, I don't think I would have used that time to the best possible extent. So yeah, time heals if you use the time in a really proactive and positive way, I think.
My favorite thing about the process that I've put together is that you have the sessions, the ones we managed to record, you have them to access forever, but you also have access to all the course material forever. So you can revisit it as much or as little as you need going forward. So it's like an ongoing journey, right? It was kind of like we took a rocket ship and we launched you, right? But now it's up to you to continue the journey and wherever it is that you decide to go for your future now, but you have these tools to use in any area of your life whenever you need it.
Yeah, I think so. And the coursework is always there, and it's really easy to go back onto the portal and look at something again. And I've made lots of notes in my notebook that kind of prompt me to go back and look at things if I'm feeling a particular way. And so it is that concept of repeating the concepts in your mind. And I think also, like with anything, you watch it 2 or 3 times and you'll get something extra or additional from it every time, because you've got additional you've taken on board additional information, or you've had other learnings or other experiences, then you'll continue to grow from watching it. And so that's the positive thing. You can go back and look at it again. And the healing sheets, I think that's what you call them, the healing sheets are they're nice little summaries as well, and so even if people are time poor, then having having those to refer back on, they will prompt the sorts of, you know, thoughts and processes and discussions and everything that came along with that module. So, and I think what I found really useful was, you know, before we would meet every week, you know, I would have my, you know, my homework or my pre-work, or, you know, so I would watch your video and, you know, do some thinking in advance. And so that was really nice because I was able to, you know, to do that and document some of my thoughts, so that when we came to sit down and talk, you know, I'd already had a bit of a think about things from my perspective. And so that made it a really nice interactive experience.
Yeah, actually that is something that I implemented recently, because before I would come on each call and each call would be one of the modules. So just in terms of, okay, how can I improve this process? I decided to pre-record the thing that I needed to tell everyone, so that then on the call, I could just customize it to you and we can have a discussion about what's actually going on in your life. And then even recently, I've implemented the SRT technique so that we can actually release on the blockages that are causing you to be kind of more resistant to that. I mean, it's, you know, each session gets better, each client gets better. So I love this feedback because it's going to help, you know, the next lady. And so thank you for being open to share.
You're welcome.
So what advice would you give someone who is just stuck? I mean, we've all been there. I was stuck for 4 years, triggered, vulnerable, not knowing what to do. What would you give her just now that you say you have a different outlook on things? I guess, balm?
You know, just listening to you say that, like, I just have to say, you know, I'm about a little bit 6 months in my journey, and the fact that I am where I am thanks to you and your work, in comparison to the fact that, you know, you struggled through for 4 years like that, you know, and you know, thinking that there are other people that struggle through for that long. I can't imagine feeling like as lost and as desperate and as sad that as I was, you know, a number of months ago for such a long period of time. So thank you. But what I would say is, you know, and I've said it previously in our chat just now, but invest in yourself. You know, like, something has happened and somebody dear to you has made decisions that impact on you, and I think accepting that has happened and accepting where you are is a really difficult thing to do, but it's a necessary thing to do to be able to move forward. And if you get in touch with Gianni, she will help you navigate that process, because it's a really hard thing to do. And you know, there are no rules. I mean, I'm still working towards a place of forgiveness, but I've been able to incorporate that into the work that we have done, and it's still possible to, you know, to move forward whilst grappling with concepts like that, I think. So yeah, I think my advice would be, make the call, have a quick Zoom catch up with Gianni, and, you know, get a better understanding of how she can help you. Watch some of her YouTube videos and take the plunge. Do it for yourself.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. That's not what I expected you to say. But yeah, my heart.
You didn't coach me. I mean that. That's why I say it.
It just fills me up with so much joy, because I never thought, I did think back then that I would be here someday, and to just come full circle and to just be able to do this work is just so fulfilling for me. And it's such a joy to see your transformation. And I know that sky's the limit for you. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And yeah, you'll keep hearing from me. I'm not going away. As in you, Gianni, not everybody else.
Yeah,
but you know,
okay.
So thank you. I've really valued the time that we've spent together, and thanks for helping me to get here.
Yay!